Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Portrait of a man at work. The only work he's ever done. The only work he knows. His name is Henry Francis Valentine, but he calls himself Rocky, because that's the way his life has been. Rocky and perilous and uphill at a dead run all the way. He's tired now. Tired of running or wanting, of waiting for the breaks that come to others but never to him. Never to Rocky Valentine.
Alright guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and joined once again by my good friend and co-host, 80Z. 80s?
80Z is here. How's it going? I'm in my newly secured sound booth. We won't disclose the location. We've been laughing about it all day. But
and no, it's not the bathroom. Okay.
No, not the bathroom. I'm not sitting on the can right now.
So this episode is episode 28, A Nice Place to Visit. So Eric, let's just go ahead and just take it away.
All right, let's dive right in. As Jimbo just said, A Nice Place to Visit. This is the Twilight Zone episode number 28 of season 1. It was directed by John Brom, and it was written by Charles Beaumont. And the original air date for this particular episode was April the 15th, 1960. And the total production cost for this episode was $48,737 and 26 cents. And again, this, $50,000 is kind of been our benchmark for the last several episodes. So this one came in under that $50,000 range. And if we adjust that for inflation for today's dollars, that is $433,060.19. Jimbo, you want to take the cast away?
Sure. Now, this is a very interesting cast. I only did the two main characters in this. There was a lot of extra actors and actresses that portrayed dancing women, women at the casino actual workers, the policemen, and a lot of other stuff that you don't really get a lot of them. So I just figured we'd just focus on the two primary actors. The first one would be Mr. Larry Blyden. He played Mr. Henry Francis, otherwise known as Rocky Valentine, the star of the show. He's basically a cat burglar, petty thief, but he's had a life of crime, and you can tell. And then probably the guy that stole the show for me, Mr. Sebastian Cabot as Mr. Pip. Great actor, great performance, great stage performance. Some of the most famous stuff that he's been in, you might recognize his voice from The Jungle Book from 1967, where he played Bagheera the Panther. He was also in Sword in the Stone from Disney, where he played Sir Ector, and he was also the narrator in the opening in 68. He was also in the great sci-fi classic movie The Time Machine, where he played Dr. Philip Hillier, and that was in 1960. He was also the narrator in a lot of the Winnie the Pooh's classic episodes. So this guy worked around Disney a lot, Disney cartoons, just because his voice, once you hear his voice, it's captivating.
Yeah.
And he was also very famous for the TV show Family Affair, which starred Mr. Giles French, and it ran from 1966 to 1971.
Okay. Let me throw in the technical specs here. I forgot to throw those on at the end. That was a new segment that I've been throwing in. And the runtime for this particular episode was 25 minutes. And the sound mix was mono, Westrex recording systems. Color was black and white, of course. And the aspect ratio was 1.33 over 1 or by 1. The negative format is 35 millimeters. The cinematographic process was spherical, and the printed film format was 35 millimeter. So another, I prefer the 35 millimeter episodes as opposed to the videotape. I know I've stated that many times.
But we haven't really seen a videotaped episode yet.
Not
I think
yet.
That comes in season 2.
Exactly, not yet. Let me go ahead with the plot here. This is probably an extended version of the plot, but let me go ahead and read some of that. After robbing a pawn shop, Henry Francis Rocky Valentine is shot in a gunfight by a police officer as he tries to flee. He wakes up to find himself seemingly unharmed by the encounter as a genial, elderly man named Pip greets him. Pip explains that he has been instructed to guide Rocky and to give him whatever he desires. Rocky becomes suspicious, thinking that Pip is trying to swindle him, but Pip proves to have detailed information on Rocky's tastes and hobbies. Rocky demands that Pip hand over his wallet, and Pip says that he doesn't carry one, but gives Rocky $700 directly from his pocket and says that he can provide as much money as Rocky wants. Thinking that Pip is trying to entice him to commit a crime, Rocky holds him at gunpoint as the two travel to a luxurious apartment. Pip explains that the apartment and everything in it are free, and Rocky starts to relax and changes into an expensive suit. However, his suspicions rise again when a meal is brought in, and he demands that Pip taste it first to prove that it is not poisoned. When Pip demurs, claiming that he has not eaten for centuries, Rocky shoots him several times but finds that his bullets have no effects. Rocky realizes that he is dead, and he concludes that he is in heaven, and Pip is his guardian angel. As Pip says he can have anything he wants, Rocky asks for $1 million and a beautiful woman, and quickly has both requests fulfilled. Rocky visits a casino with 3 ladies, winning every bet he makes as beautiful girls gather around him, and enjoys being able to torment a policeman after Pip shrinks him. Later, Rocky asks Pip if he can see some of his old friends who have also died, but Pip says that this world is for Rocky alone. Except for the 2 men, no one is in the deal. When Rocky wonders what good deeds he could have done to gain entrance to heaven, Pip takes him to a visit to the Hall of Records, and Rocky looks through his own file and discovers that it only contains a list of his sins, but decides not to worry about it. Pip departs, saying that he can be reached by telephone as needed. 1 month later, Rocky has become bored with having his whims instantly satisfied. He wins every game at the casino, and the ladies defer to him and comply with his every suggestion. He calls Pip and asks for a challenge in which he might run the risk of losing. Pip offers to arrange for him to lose once in the casino, while Rocky dismisses the idea that he would know about any setup. The two discuss a bank robbery, but Rocky quickly abandons that idea, as well as a pre-planned outcome would take the thrill out of the crime. Deciding that he will go crazy if he stays in heaven any longer, he asks Pip to take him to the other place. Pip reports, "Heaven? Whatever gave you the idea that you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine?" And then the episode closes. And again, that was an extended plot. I mean, that covers quite a bit of the episode, but
I think that was the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty detailed. I didn't realize the plot was that long when I wrote it down there, but you get the idea of basically everything that happens in the episode. And now we'll just go back through and maybe by scenes kind of highlight scenes in the episode that stuck out to us, little facts, little things that trivia things as we go through. So Jimbo, did you have anything just in general that you wanted to get out in the very beginning here?
Well, no, but like we were talking earlier, it starts off with going through. You see a pawn shop on the street, and the camera comes in and basically goes through the window of the pawn shop, and you see a guy robbing a safe, I guess it would be, or a cabinet, whatever. And you see this security guard laying on the ground, or police officer, whatever you want to call them, owner maybe. And I showed Eric, and I said, "You need to see this." I was trying to decide if he killed that person or if he had just knocked him unconscious to rob him, because you can clearly see the guy shaking, almost like convulsing for a split second. And then you go to a close-up of Rocky, and then you go back and you see the guy's arm moving. So it's implied, I think, that he's killed.
Right.
But you could go the other way, too, with that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's not really clear, and he's only... The older gentleman who looks like a security guard's only on the screen for maybe a flash, and you have to look, like you said, really closely. And I'm looking at it right now, and yeah. And then so that would be our first scene, and then we move from inside of it looks like a pawn shop / a loan / pawn shop place, and then Rocky hears the sirens, and he exits to the sidewalk, jumping over the counter, which, were you saying earlier when we talked that the counter might have, I don't remember the episode, but this glass counter, the glass case is used in an episode.
It kind of reminds me, it's in season 2, I do believe.
Yeah.
I think it's called The Man in the Bottle.
Right.
It kind of looks familiar, but I can't say for certain it is, but maybe we'll have more clarity on that by the time we reach the season 2 episode.
So Rocky flees to the alleyway and begins to climb a wooden fence, and he basically has a gun, and he has a shootout with the police, and he's killed on the fence. And this is his first encounter with Pip. And Pip enters the scene after a few moments. There's a fade out, and then we come back in, and Pip is calling Mr. Valentine. And that's when he explained, just like I read in the plot, that he's basically here in the capacity of meeting Rocky's needs. He's there to... Rocky kind of thinks he's a guardian angel of sorts. He which I talked about this too. We talked about this off air. Rocky's committed all of these heinous crimes. You can tell he was like a juvenile delinquent as the story unfolds, right? He's been playing... Well, Pip even mentions... I wrote it down here. He mentions the game Mumblety Peg, which I had no idea what that was. He said Rocky used to like playing Mumblety Peg back when you were young. So I looked it up, and apparently it's played between two people with the aid of a pocket knife. And the most basic version of it is a contestant throws a knife end over end. He throws it as deeply into the ground as he can, and he tries to get it as close to his foot as he can. And the other guy throws the knife, and this goes back and forth. And then whoever's knife lands in the ground closest to their foot wins. And so that's what Mumblety Peg is, basically the basic version of that game. I had no
Stay tuned for our Facebook Live where me and Eric will be playing Mumblety games.
Yeah. So I had no idea what that was. I had to go back, and that's an old reference to an old game. So anyway, as I was saying, it's obvious that Rocky has had a checkered past, and he's basically been a criminal his whole life. And we talked about this earlier, that how in the world could he think that he would end up in heaven? He thinks he's going to get all this money and extra, I guess you could call it, blessings and fortunes and all this stuff after the life that he's led. And he's even suspicious of any kind of kindness that, Pip even extends to him in the beginning. He always thinks there's an angle. He always thinks that there's something underlying. But anyway.
Well, I thought it was always interesting that he's like, well, where are my friends? He's like, maybe there was a mistake. Maybe where's the, school teachers or doctors or whatever he says. And you're thinking, well, yeah, where is everybody? Basically,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I'm going to put a clip in here, and this is Rocky kind of explaining his life and how he's gotten the raw deal and the short end of the stick.
What are you after, anyway?
Only one thing, Mr. Valentine. Your comfort. My job is to see to it that you get what you want, whatever it may be.
Yeah? In exchange for what?
Nothing at all, Mr. Valentine. absolutely free.
Don't put me on, Fatso. Nothing's free. Nothing. Anything I ever got in this lousy world, I had to drag out of it, so don't put me on.
Okay, so there we get Rocky's viewpoint, his worldview, I guess, and now we move on to the next scene. Jimbo is. Does this look like is it a hotel suite in the casino? It doesn't really say, or is this like just a fancy apartment? I don't know.
I don't know. I would kind of say it's like his own personal mansion, I guess. Okay. It's the way I would come across it.
Yeah, so we're inside this very luxurious room. Of course, Rocky is super skeptical. He thinks that Pip wants him to basically pull off a crime or some caper, and that's why he's being so nice to him. And it's important to note that Pip knows, he's got a little notebook, that was in the first scene. He's got a little notebook. Just it has basically Rocky's whole life story, I would imagine, like his likes, his dislikes, everything about him, what, specifically like what games he liked to play. And so he has this notebook, and of course he knows clothing-wise what Rocky likes, and he explains that, I've hung up several suits here in this closet. Everything's at your disposal. Pick out something you like. And so Rocky gets cleaned up. He got a nice new suit on, and he goes and Pip prepares him looks like a steak dinner with all the trimmings and corn on the cob and all this stuff, and Rocky gets suspicious again. He goes to sit down to eat it, and he tells Pip, "No, you eat it first. I'm not going to eat this. This is, this is too nice of a meal, and there's got to be a catch in this somewhere." He's always trying to find the angle or the catch. And then what does Pip do? He says, he hasn't eaten in like 5 centuries.
2,000 centuries, yeah.
Something like that. And then Rocky gets angry because he thinks he's just lying to him. He thinks Pip is lying, and he shoots him pulls out his gun and shoots Pip, and the bullets, pass right through him. And he's dumbfounded at this point, and he sinks back into a chair, and then right at his disposal, right on the right-hand coffee table, is like his favorite whiskey, I guess, or something. And so this is where it leads up to the scene where he asks for $1 million. And Jimbo, this $1 million, did you have some trivia on the dominations, like the money or something?
Right, but before this, isn't this where he wouldn't eat, and that's where he pulls the gun out on him?
Yeah, that's what I just described.
Yeah.
He pulls the gun out and shoots him. Go ahead.
Right. There was some stuff about that, too, like some of the timing with the actual gun going off and the lamp fading to color is actually, burn out, technically shot out before the gun timing was off there.
Okay.
You can also see some strings around certain stuff in that mansion room. So there's a little bit of stuff there as well. Also, the $1 million that he has requested, he wants in 5G notes, which is a $5,000 bill.
Right.
Well, $5,000 bills were last printed in 1945, but they were still in circulation in 1960. So $1 million in 5G notes would be 200 individual bills, so it would easily fit into that desk drawer like he wanted.
Right.
And also, I believe that the lady that he wished for, I think, wasn't she the one that was in the painting behind him?
I can't really tell.
That he wanted a lady like that?
He wanted a lady like her.
The exact same lady.
Yeah, and I know that we discussed this a little too off air, that CBS was really careful with,
oh, yeah.
I think they even wanted control over the costumes that the ladies wore in this episode, that they not be too revealing and that the language not be too suggestive, as we talked about earlier.
Right. Well, they singled this episode out for its brazen sexual innuendos. Program practices requested that Larry Blyden not refer to the girls as a broad or really stacked, even though the crudity was essential to establishing the unsavory qualities of Blyden's characters. Nor could the protagonist refer to a party as a ball, since that word only had one meaning back then.
Okay.
In another nice place sequence, a voluptuous young lady who's played by Barbie English tends to Blyden's every need, then says, "Is there anything else that I could do for you?" CBS's comment, "Please be certain that the girl's third speech be delivered in a sweet manner as described." So he was really pushing, Rod Serling was really pushing the envelopes with this episode about what he could and couldn't get away with on TV.
Right. So we move down into the casino, and of course Rocky wins. I think he starts out at the craps table, and he's winning every roll. He's winning every time. He's winning all this money he's got now. Instead of the one lady that was in his apartment, now he has gained 3 other ladies at the crap table, and so he's got women hanging around, and he's winning money, and things are going great for Rocky. This is the best thing that could have ever happened to him. He's enjoying life. And then there was a little catch in the craps table scene, Jimbo, about a particular lady and her earring that you caught. You want to go ahead and divulge that?
So I went back and watched this earlier, and then I had to share with Eric, obviously. If you watch Rocky, once he hits his winnings, 2 things. Once the guy says that he won, he's like, I won $40,000, and he rakes the table. He cleans the chips off. If you're a gambler, you don't rake the winner's chips. You let it sit there till it's paid out. That's one mistake. So then usually it just sits there and they pay them out, and then they do it. They take theirs or whatever. So that's the first one. The second one was, if you look closely, the lady in the middle, the dark-haired lady, if you watch closely, when she gets really excited out, he goes through and he wins. He kisses all the girls. And then he wins again or something, and he gets really excited. And she loses an earring. Her right earring falls out. And if you watch, you can see her bend down and pick it up. But as the scene continues, as he goes on to the slot machine, she still doesn't have the earring in, which I thought, why would they leave this out? You know what I mean? But then eventually, once they leave the casino, it's back on. But I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if it maybe was their final take, and they had to get this shot, and it was just so perfect. Everything else was perfect in there, that this did fall off, and they wanted to use it. It was too expensive to reshoot that whole scene just for a little minute detail like that. But also, I believe that this has one of the best lines of this entire episode, and also a foreshadowing of the whole episode, is where Rocky wins again, and he's like, he tells Pip, he said, hey, is Rocky hot or is Rocky hot? And then Pip gives him that slide. He's like, oh, Rocky's hot. Yeah. So it was kind of a play on words about where Rocky really is, because he's not in heaven. And I thought that was really well done by Rod Serling right there.
Yeah, that was. So that was really, really well done. So they come to, you led us up, Jimbo, to where they come out of the casino. And before they do that,
sure. Before they do that, when he goes over to the slot machine, this slot machine is famous because we have already seen it before.
Yes.
It was in the Fever episode that we covered a few episodes back, where the guy gets the gambling addiction. It's the same one there, and it's also used in several other Twilight Zone. It's like the famous slot machine that never goes away, because it's in almost all the episodes that have a slot machine. Yeah. So I wanted to point that out before you jumped on leaving the casino.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely got their money's worth out of that prop. Once again, they were very resourceful.
As they did Forbidden Planet's props.
Yeah, very resourceful in this Twilight Zone series. So we come to the front of the casino. Did you have information? I couldn't remember. I apologize. Do you have information about the use of the casino, that the branding on the side of the bag? That maybe I read that, and Rod wanted. I think he wanted He wanted a particular name of the casino on the bag, maybe for promotional purposes. I can't remember, and it slips my mind. And you're giving me a look like you don't have that written down. Okay,
no, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't in my research. That's obviously your research.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But I mean, it would be a great way to advertise for somebody if they wanted to pay product rights, that product placement in there.
Right.
I don't know how popular that was back then, but I mean, if it was a way to get some money for the episode, then why not?
Yeah, I read something to where he was upset that they just had to put the casino on the bag, and I'll have to go back and research that. I apologize. I thought that was in our collaborative
Well, if they could have put the casino that was in the Fever, but I don't remember the name of that casino at the moment either. That would have been cool, just to have the continuity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, Rocky jumps in the air and clicks his heels, and he confronts a police officer. Rocky has a bout with little man syndrome. He feels like the police officer is eyeballing them or whatever, and they have a little exchange. And then Pip does a little, I guess, magic or something, and makes the police officer really small. really short, and then they all get a good laugh at the police officer's expense, and then they jump in this convertible, and then they go back to the apartment, and Rocky's just more excited than he can ever be, and life is good. And, this goes on. I think he's in the apartment scene for... Oh, wait, I don't want to pass over this. After they're in the apartment, he's enjoying some time with the dolls, if you will. They're having a good time celebrating the winnings. So he and Pip have an exchange of words, and it's decided that they are going to go to the Hall of Records, because this all doesn't make any sense to Rocky, because, how can he be living this life when in his real life he was not an honorable man, to put it mildly.
But is this also where he asks? Is this also where he asks about his other friends? Like, hey, can I, see some of my other friends if they're here or whatever? And he's like, no, this is designed especially for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's at this point or not. My memory fails me,
because they're getting ready to go to the Hall of Records.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember.
Did you
know if that was here, if it was after that?
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if that's more towards the end or if it's right here. My memory slips me. But did you have something that you wanted to talk about, the Hall of Records, the staircase scene? Did you have some trivia?
To me, it looked like the same staircase and outer structure as the steps from Time Enough at Last, the great episode from season 1 with Burgess Meredith, where he smashes his glasses at the library. It looks like the same set as the steps from the library used from that episode as it is here. Mm-hmm. I cannot confirm or deny that. I'm just thinking visually, and when I'm thinking back, it looks like it. But once again, I cannot confirm or deny that at this point until I do more research on it.
Right. So it's determined that, Rocky's even more confused because, Pip pulls out his file, and his file is not a list of good deeds, It's everything that Rocky's ever done, basically wrong in his life. And that scene ends rather, kind of abruptly. Pip sort of vanishes in behind the cabinets, the filing cabinets. And then we come back to the casino, and Rocky's got what looks like a new suit of clothes, and he's got like a tux on, and he's doing all the same things again, and he's winning every time at every game. And he's just become so bored with the whole, nothing's a challenge, and he'll comment on that later in the episode, that everything is just, it's too good almost for him.
Well, what I like about that scene is after he wins at the craps, he's like, mail them to me, the chips, and then he goes over to the slot machine. He just doesn't even look. He just puts the coin in, pushes it in, the money just dumps out all over the floor. All the girls are excited still again. And he's just over it, you can tell.
So, yeah, exactly. And so we're back in the apartment, and there's a phone, an old-style rotary phone sitting on the table. And Rocky, he's eating an apple, and he throws it down. And then he goes over to this phone that I mentioned earlier, and it says PIP on it, which stands for Pip. That's the only person he has communication with. They're alluding to the fact that that's the only person he can really get in touch with. And so he picks up the phone, he calls Pip, and he explains that everything... he says, I don't know how to explain this, but it ain't the same thing. Knocking off a bank, doing all these capers. My whole life, there was always the risk of getting caught. Let me back up a little bit. Like, it was funny. It was a cool shot where, do you remember, Jimbo, where he's shooting pool and he... Right,
and I was getting ready to say, you skipped over the part where he goes back, they're back at the hotel room, mansion, whatever you want to call it. And all the ladies are laying in bed with him, and they're playing cards. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, yeah. She's like, I got a straight flush. She's like, I got a royal flush. And this is where the lady asks, is there anything else I can do? He's like, yeah, you can get out. I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of you. You all can just leave. So he kicks them all out of the house. Then he's sitting there, and he's thinking, and he looks over, there's a pool table. He's like, So he goes over to the pool table, he racks them, and he shoots, and every single one goes in the holes. But it's obviously stop animation. You could tell some of the balls can be seen disappearing near the holes rather than going into them. So
right.
I thought that was pretty funny too. So
yeah.
Then he calls Pip.
Yeah. Then I apologize. I got a little ahead of myself there. Then he he calls Pip, and that gets us up to where we're at now. And he's asking for a challenge. He wants a risk. There's no risk now in life. And Pip, again, he offers to arrange for him to lose once in a while at the casino to try to appease him a little bit, But Rocky's like, that's not going to work. And then, they discuss the bank robbery. But, Rocky doesn't want to do a bank robbery because the outcome is already pre-planned. Like, he knows he's going to get away with the heist. So, and... he decides that he's going to go crazy. Like, I can't live in heaven, so to speak, any longer. And he asks Pip to take him to the other place. And this is the famous laugh at the end and the line, "Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine?" And that's just awesome. And his
this
his
is
belly
the other place, is what he tells you.
Yeah, this is the other place. You think you're in heaven, you're in hell. Like, you're living your own personal hell, like, every day.
Right,
so that
and that
awesome.
laugh that he gives, man, is just amazing.
Yeah.
That Pip gives right there. It's kind of an evil, I got you kind of laugh. I thought it was really well done. I love this guy's acting in this. I thought it was great. A couple other things real quick. When he kicks all the girls out and he slams the door, you can see the wall and the door frame moving. So he's like a little props moving around. Rocky is always wearing his pork pie hat backwards, and the bow tie is always being worn to the left.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting too. But the role of Rocky was intended for none other than Mickey Rooney. Charles Beaumont suggested that the potential second choice would be Rod Serling himself. Can you imagine if Rod Serling did it? I think that would have been great. But Rooney eventually lands the role in The Twilight Zone, The Last Night of the Jockey in 1963. One of the striking similarities that me and you talked about a little bit is that Rocky is very similar to Walter Bedecker. If you guys remember, we covered him in the episode The Escape Clause, where he's the hypochondriac who's reckless, impulsive, thinks only of immediate gratification, is so lacking in imagination that he cannot foresee any long-term consequences or ramifications. Mm-hmm. I believe that's the exact same thing that's happening right here with Rocky. Also, Rocky at one point in this calls Pip Santa Claus, which is interesting because he does kind of have that look to him, but also he would go on to play Santa in the TV movie remake of Miracle on 34th Street in 1973.
Okay.
So that's very interesting. But the one thing about Sebastian Cabot, he was really reluctant because he had brunette hair, and his hair's not white in this. It's actually, his beard and hair are dyed blonde. Oh. It just looks black and white because of the black and white film or whatever. I would have loved to have seen this in color, but he was really reluctant to do that because the peroxide that they used would be that the color would remain out of his hair for about 6 months. Mm-hmm. So that's a commitment right there. If you're dyeing your hair and beard with peroxide for 6 months of just one little shoot for the Twilight Zone, especially with that career that guy ended up having, he had a lot of stuff going on. I thought it was really well done. So Eric, what do you think of this episode?
Well, I found the bag casino information. I did write it down. It's right here at the end of my notes, and I'm going to throw it in right here. One of Serling's disappointments was the use of the casino featured on Rocky's bag. Serling, having been to Vegas, felt sure that he could secure the name of a real casino to help dismiss any ideas the viewers might have regarding Rocky being in hell instead of the real world. In a letter to Buck Houghton, Serling felt certain that a few inquiries emphasizing benefits the casinos would have would get us permission from the front, but the name, the casino, remained as generic as it may be. So I guess it was more for the viewers and not so much more for promotion or publicity or as a sponsorship. It just
still trying to fool the viewers of it's a real casino,
right?
But then again, if you're a promotioner, would you really want your casino to be tied to something that, hey, you're in hell if you come play at our casino?
Right.
I don't think, I don't think I would want my name associated with that either. You know what I mean?
That might be a hard sell there, yeah.
So what do you think of this episode?
I thought it was okay. I thought, Rocky Valentine, the whole gangster, hey guy, he was kind of cartoonish sometimes in his portrayal as a tough guy gangster. I thought it was okay. I thought Pip Sebastian, he played a really good role, and it's primarily those two, of course, with a few stand-in girls. It's primarily the dialogue is between them two throughout the entire episode. I thought it was good. IMDb, I always go to them. They said it's an 8. Again, this sounds like a droning repeat, but it's not a top 10 episode for me, but it's a good twist. I thought the twist was very good, even though I kind of picked up on it pretty early, and I'm sure you did too, Jimbo, that what was going on, but yeah, I thought it was okay.
Oh yeah, I think it's just a middle of the pack episode. Acting is really well done by Sebastian Cabot. I mean, really good. I think it's up there with the top performances of the season. But the other guy, he kind of reminded me of Rocky. He kind of reminded me of Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Always the guy with the slick back hair.
Right, that's a good
always
comparison.
Just a loose cannon, always after the girls. And that's I couldn't get that vision out of my head. But he did a fantastic job in what he was trying to portray.
Yeah.
It's just that it didn't hit well with me. It was almost more comedic. Because you thought he was this big bad gangster, you know what I mean? And it turned out he ended up being more of like a comedian. I don't know how to put it, but you would think a big bad gangster would be more different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was almost like he was a caricature of a gangster, you know what I mean? Like I
right.
Don't know.
But you can go back to the conclusion of maybe he really wasn't that big bad in real life either. He just got away with his crimes.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that could be something to look at, but yeah. So I would just say middle to low end of the pack for me on this one. So we are coming up soon, and I don't know if it's the next one. We are coming up with probably one of my top Twilight Zones of season 1. What is the next one, Eric? Do you know? Do you happen to have it pulled up?
Give me a moment, and I probably can pull it up here. Nightmare as a Child is the next one. Oh, the one after.
Okay,
this is the one you're referring to.
The one
after.
Stop
at Willoughby is 2 episodes
I
away.
cannot wait for that one because that is probably that's definitely in my top 5 of season 1.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's really good. Next week's is really good too. And I'm not going to say anything much more about it, but I enjoyed that one too. So, well, with that being said, I think you got any other further comments you would like to add or
I don't think so. I think I got through all the notes that I had. This one was a little bit shorter, probably, just because it was just a so-so. I think Jimbo described it pretty well. It was just kind of a middle of the pack. There's really no a whole lot of trivia or extra stuff that we could find, and we've got several resource materials too now.
Well, not only that, but the cast of characters was less too, so there wasn't really much interaction with a bunch of characters that we could pull a lot of information from there either. So some of these will be longer, some of these will be shorter. But yeah, middle of the pack to the bottom, that's perfectly placed where it needs to be, I do believe. So, well, I guess this episode's coming to the close, and Eric, take it away, and that's a wrap,
and cut!
A scared, angry little man who never got a break. Now he has everything he's ever wanted, and he's going to have to live with it for eternity in the Twilight Zone.